on? Cool. And I'm going to post this recording as soon as I am able, which should be like tonight. All right, so we're recording. I'm sharing my screen. A little bit of a thumbs up would be super helpful. Y'all can see my Blackboard. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're already tired of doing that for people, but thank you for playing anyway. I appreciate your help. All right, so here we are over here in Blackboard. I'm pretty sure you can see my mouse cursor. I just want to show you that this is what our homepage looks like, which is super not helpful. I have no idea how to use the home screen on Blackboard, so I just don't. Hope that's okay. What you really need to know is that there's this little arrow, and I'm sure you all know this better than me, but this is where we want to live our lives. All of our things are here in the sidebar. So the syllabus is in the syllabus tab. There's a link to our Flipgrid. There's a link to scheduling a meeting with me outside of office hours. There's a video defining all the things in the syllabus if you hate reading. And then there's a nice little version of the syllabus. And I would encourage you to read this great poem, Breakage by Mary Oliver, that I recently added to the syllabus because I feel like it really speaks to the whole essence of this course. It's pretty much just about how super awesome coasts are and how we can learn a lot from intertidal ecosystems as our classroom. All right, another thing I want to point out, because I've had a lot of questions, is that when you click on the assignments tab, anything that's underlined is a folder. So even if there's a ton of text underneath the underline, it's still a folder, like the scientific paper reading worksheets with the instructions right here. If you click on this, it's still a folder and it still opens up and has all of our reading worksheets in it. Okay, so for example, the Ecology Near Me project used to have like 3 pages of directions below it. I deleted those because it was confusing, but now it's just a folder. You click on it and all the things are inside of it, including videos on how to use Flipgrid, how to do the project, and how to use your care package, which maybe some of you have gotten. Has anybody gotten their care package yet? Amazing. Okay. Stand by, people who haven't. They are coming soon. Okay. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you there. So let's go ahead and get things started here. Hopefully you have RStudio downloaded and installed on your computer if you decided you wanted to go that route. If you didn't, hopefully you have a VPN client and/or are sitting on campus and can navigate to rstudio.bowdoin.edu. So unless you're one of those people who has RStudio on their computer, what I need you to do is activate your VPN client, which is Cisco AnyConnect, and then go to rstudio.bowdoin.edu and sign in using your Bowdoin login name and password. And then if you want to like do a little something like this to tell me that you did it, that would be real helpful. And if you have problems with any of this, the time to unmute and say, "Oh my God, help me," is right now. Okay. Feel free to keep doing that if you're still doing that. What you also need to open is inside of our assignments tab on Blackboard, there is a section called R Programming Assignments. I want you to click on that, open that folder, find Week 1 Intro to RStudio, and just click on this link, Week 1 Intro to RStudio.html. It will bring up a website that I made using R. And it'll tell you all the things that you need to know about how we're going to do this assignment. All right. I'm briefly going to pause and make sure that everybody is in the same place. You should be right now able to see Week 1 and Intro to RStudio, which is this tab, and you should have this kind of page up, rstudio.bowdoin.edu. If you're using RStudio on your computer, you should still have this website up, and then you should have R open like this. If you are not in that position and you need help, please ask now, because we're going to just keep on going.
Where was the link to the Week 1 site again?
The link is in Blackboard. You go to Blackboard Assignments, and then in Assignments, you scroll down to R Programming Assignments, and then you click on the folder for R Programming Assignments, scroll down to Week 1 Intro to RStudio, and click on the link.
Thank you.
Yep.
So again, if we already got RStudio on our computer, we're all good with the. We don't need to do the VPN or anything, right?
You don't. That is correct. You
Cool.
may have a couple of problems, but we will address that as they come. Is anybody else using RStudio on their computer? Okay, cool. Have you used R Markdown before? People who have their hands up. Yes, some of you have. Dope. Okay. If you haven't, you might have a bad time at the end, but I know how to save you. Just like, let's wait and see if we need to do it. Okay. Cool. All those people who did this when they said they had RStudio on their computer, are you familiar with R at all? Yeah. Okay. A couple of no's. That's fine.
It's been a while.
That's okay. If you've done it before, you at least know how to like Google something. Oh crap. Here you go. Just one sec. I gotta send something out. Ooh, I don't know if I can. Yes, Paul, sorry. Let's chat when you get added because all of the stuff is hidden on Blackboard. You can try clicking this link. I just don't know if it'll work. Let me know if that works for you. Okay. Cool. Let's keep going then. All right. So
I'm having trouble getting on the Blackboard thing. I don't know why it's not working.
are you able to access our Blackboard site for the class?
Yeah, but now for some reason it's appearing differently than it normally does. So
Okay.
I'm not getting the list of like, it has the normal assignments, week 1, week 2, like that's not appearing for me at all.
It looks like what my screen looks like now.
Oh, wait a second.
There should be a sneaky little arrow.
Oh, okay.
And then you can find it in assignments.
Okay, there we go.
Cool. All right, before we dig into the assignment, I'm going to give you a brief intro to R and RStudio, and feel free to raise your hand or type questions or whatever you need to do to ask questions when you get lost. All right, so hopefully you all can see my screen. What we have here is the basic layout of an RStudio. So RStudio has 4 panels, and right now we have 3 panels open. And we're going to open a 4th panel in just a second. So the first thing I need you to do is go ahead and try to open that 4th panel. We're going to open 2 different kinds of file right now. We're going to go to File, New File. When we get to the New File options, we're going to go over to RScript, and we're just going to click on that. And what that's going to do is pop open an RScript in the top left corner of our screen. Does everybody see that? Great. I appreciate your thumbs upping. That is very helpful for me. Okay. Scripts are like the basic building blocks of coding. All right. We're going to get into why that matters in a second. But first, I need you to go back to File, New File, and open up an R Markdown file. If that option isn't there for you, just like wave your hand around. Okay, great. Cool. So it's not there for everyone. If it's there for you, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and open an R Markdown file and just title it. I'm just going to call it Friday, but maybe you want to call yours week 1 notes or week 1 homework or something, whatever you want to do. And it doesn't matter. Change the author to your name. Default output format can be HTML. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You can change that later. And it should open you a new page. There's going to be a bunch of text on it that means nothing to you. Just leave it sitting there. If the R Markdown option didn't show up for you, I need you to do a few things, and I'm going to get you to that in just a second. But before we do that, I'm going to finish my intro to RStudio because the first instruction on our actual assignment is how to install packages. So we're going to get there. Okay. So
All right, fourth panel.
The 4th panel, File, New File, RScript.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. Awesome.
Just
cool.
makes a new tab. Is that okay?
If you probably already had something up here.
Yeah.
You can just close whatever else you already had, or you can leave it open. It's totally up to you. I don't want you to like lose previous work.
Okay.
But you're welcome to close it. R always saves, so you should be okay. Thank you for asking questions, though. All right, so we've got our script. So in the top left corner, we have our script. Scripts are where you can type things. So if you're following along on my screen, I'm showing you how to do all of this in real time, and this is recorded, so you can go back in time and watch me do it again as many times as you need. So this is a script right here. When I type things, the words stay permanently there until I delete them, okay? That's important. Because when I'm writing code, I'm often gonna have to iterate to get it right. So I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna have to try a bunch of things, I'm gonna have to look at data in a bunch of different ways. And I wanna see what I did, otherwise I can't go back and figure out what I did wrong, or I can't figure out how to do the next step. So we need a script to keep all of our files and or keep all of our code, okay? So I just showed you that you can actually write a comment in script, and it should be the color green. And when you type a hashtag at the beginning of a line, you can then type a comment by using a hashtag at the left of the line, okay? So you can do that. If I type without the hashtag, it's gonna be like code. And when I try to execute my code, it'll try to run this line and nothing will happen because random strings of letters are actually not code, surprisingly. That's an error. So that'll be a problem. All right. Separate from the script in the top left, in the bottom left, we have something called the console. And the console is where we could write individual lines of code and execute them. And we can also see the output of when we run code in our script. So I'm going to run some code. You don't have to do this. You're welcome to if you want. But I'm just going to type the name of a data set that's built into R and hit enter. And it's going to show me the data set, right? But I don't have what I just typed saved anywhere. So if I wanted to save it, I would have to do this. Open some data, empty cars. And then I would hit run, and it would do the exact same thing. But now I actually see what I had. So if I want to type some more summary statistics of empty cars, I can. And all of the script is kept here in my script. But it's not in my console. So basically, never ever type directly into the console. If you do that, you don't have a record of what you did beyond just you could scroll up in here, but it only goes so far. Basically, type your code in the top left and view the output of your code in the bottom left. Cool? Easy stuff for now. All right, next thing you need to know about. The top right is the environment. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the environment as we move forward. But this is where you would be able to see any kind of data that you made or named or anything that you've read into R. So if you're trying to organize all of your data, this is the place you would do that. And we will see the environment populate as we move through our little project today. I don't use the environment ever, but some people find it really, really useful. So I'm showing you a little bit about it. All right, in the bottom left, this is the next thing that's really important. The bottom left, there's actually tabs. We have files, plots, packages, help, and viewer. Help is not where you go for help. If you want to know where to go for help, it is google.com, and you type in R, how do I do blah, blah, blah. And that's where you find your answers. Typing help is fine, but you'll find that the documentation for R code within R is very like, I already know how to program because I'm smarter than you, and nobody can learn that way, really, unless you're already smarter than them, which like I'm not. I can't read anything in the R help. I have to Google it and find some other dummy like me who's tried to do a thing and trying to figure out how to solve it. So Googling is how you solve problems. The help function is not that helpful. All right, files is really important, and packages and plots are also going to be really important, but you don't know why yet. So luckily, I wrote this nice tutorial where you can learn why, but that's just your basic geography of R, okay? There should be 4 panels. If there aren't 4 panels, something disappeared, and you might want to just close R and open it again. Okay, now let's go to our HTML instructions. You're welcome to stay in R and just watch on my screen if you want, but you're also welcome to follow along as however you would like. So every week for the first 5 to 10 weeks of the course, I'm thinking already about extending the amount of time you have to do your programming assignments because they're going to be harder than I thought. You're going to have one of these documents. And this document is going to be a very thorough step-by-step tutorial as if I wasn't in the room and you were just reading it to yourself. So you should, without me, be able to read these documents and do the things. If you find that that isn't true, then I either did a bad job or something is harder than I thought, which is totally possible. And if that's the case, like email me, let's chat, or come to my office hours and we'll solve your problems, okay? I know this is a hard skill and that not everybody's gonna be able to get it right away. So like, please be open and come get help. I'm so happy to help you. And I know our TAs are happy to help you as well. Okay, so week 1 is just intro to R. Like, how do you do basic stuff? How do you understand what R even is? So it's a programming language and programming environment. And there's a whole bunch of basic tutorials that are linked at the top of this page. And you can click on those and go learn from other people who have different approaches. And maybe that's what you need. There's also, if you really want to try to learn some stuff on your own, you can click on this want to try some stuff on your own link. And you can go learn some different tools and techniques that I'm not showing you today. All right, so today in this tutorial, we are going to learn how to navigate RStudio, which, like, check that box, we already did it. You're going to learn how to install and load packages, which is the next thing we're going to do. Viewing data, reading and writing files into and out of R. And then lastly, I'm going to teach you how to make a document like the one you're looking at right now so that you can complete your homework assignment. The thing I teach you is not going to be that complicated as this one, but if you really want to make like a super pretty PDF printout of the thing you did, I'm happy to show you how to do that in office hours. Okay, so before we go any further, there's a step 0, and it's setting the working directory. So because I'm here, I'm not going to read all of this for you. I'm just going to tell you stuff, but you're welcome to go back through and read this document later. So setting the working directory is the really important first step. So let's go back to our environment. And what we're going to do is learn how to set our working directory. So first, let's find what directory we are in. And before that, we actually even need to define the word directory. The hell is a directory? The directory is just the folder within the computer that we are sitting in right now. So the program R tries to grab data or save data to a particular folder. That folder is called the working directory, okay? So in programming speech, a folder on your computer is a directory. Those are the same word, really. We can go anywhere within our computer if you're on RStudio on your individual computer and do work. If you're on rstudio.bowdoin.edu, you can only work within your virtual environment, which is just like one folder. So it's super easy. Okay, to figure out where we are in our computer, we type the function getwd open parenthesis, close parenthesis. And that stands for get working directory. And all we do when we execute this function is it tells us where we are within our computer. It gives us the path, okay? So really important point that I totally messed up on Tuesday. How do you run code in R? If you're on a PC like me, you can highlight or you can put your cursor anywhere on a line. So I'm just going to highlight to make it obvious. I highlight my thing that I want to run and I hit Control, Enter, and then it runs, okay? If you're on a Mac, you probably already know this, but you have to use Command, Enter. Because why couldn't we just have the same buttons? We never could do that. So Command, Enter on a Mac, including an iPad if you have the keyboard. Control, Enter on a PC. The other option is you highlight the thing and you go up to your top right corner of your left box and you hit Run. Yeah? Thumbs up that you understand how to do running code. All right, go team. We're doing awesome. It is possible, you might be right, that Command and Control Enter both work for Mac. It used to be Command R, but they seem to have changed that. I truly don't know. When in doubt on a Mac, use Command. Control is sometimes dangerous, but I think it works. I don't know. It's a good point. Okay, so what you'll see is that our working directory is /home/your Bowdoin username, and that's it for you. Mine has this extra thing, but that's because I already made a directory. If you're on your computer, it probably is /your name, user desktop, or user documents, or R or something. You'll figure it out. If we want to change our working directory, we can do something with code, which is like a little bit more complicated, or we can just find where we want to be on our computer and we can click it. So we're going to do it that way. So watch my screen. I'm going to show you how to change your working directory. I find a folder that I want to be in, like say, oh, I don't know, bio2319, and I click on it in the bottom right corner in the files function. And then I go to the more cog and I click set as working directory. Boom, there we are. We are now set in that folder. So if you want to make a folder, you can click new folder, make a folder, and then you can make that your working directory. This is totally up to you. It doesn't matter. Notably, if you're at home using a non-cloud version of R, if you're on just RStudio on your computer, you want to click on these three little dots in the corner. So click on your ellipses in the right corner. And then it should bring up just your files window, your Finder window, or your desktop window for finding files in your PC. And you can just select anything you want. Once you select it, it'll open it in this area of your R, and then you can go to more, set as working directory. Everybody cool with setting a directory? Right now, let's just set a directory and call it whatever you want, and let's just work in it. So this is where we're going to, if we save stuff out of R, this is where all those files are going to go. If we want to read stuff into R from our computer, we need to put our files in this folder, or we need to move to the folder where our files are hiding. If you want to be a total noob, like me, you can set it as your desktop, as your working directory, and then you just put stuff on your desktop all the time. This is not best practice, but it is easy. And sometimes easy is all you need to start. Okay? Cool, cool, cool. So moving to the next step, we've gotten through step 0, we set our working directory. Now we need to install and load packages. So for those of you where you didn't have R Markdown, we're going to get that. So one thing that's really important about this HTML document that we're looking at with our instructions is that all of the stuff in dark gray is copy and pastable code. You can just copy that straight from this document and put it into your R script and run it. So we need to load the following packages. Tidyverse, so let's copy and paste that. Tidyverse. Vegan, so let's copy and paste that. And R Markdown, so let's copy and paste that. You'll notice that the comments that tell us what we're using these files for are already copied as well. So load packages. I like to comment everything I do, and this is best practice for coding. If you leave a comment like as a header telling you what you're about to do, and then line by line comment what you're doing, then you won't be able to forget. If you just type stuff and don't comment it, you're going to look back at it and go like, why did I do that? So always, always, always comment your code. When in doubt, comment more. Take good notes. All right, so now that we have that, those 3 library functions in R, we can run them, and we can run them line by line by selecting each one and using Control or Command Enter or the run function, or we can just highlight all of them and hit run. And if you're on rstudio.bodin, these will all just work. If you're on your own computer, you might get an error message. If you get an error message, give me a hand. All right. RStudio at home people, go back up and just try to run tidyverse. Does that work? Hopefully. No? Okay. So go line by line, try tidyverse, then try vegan, then try R Markdown. And whichever ones don't work, you're going to need to do a couple of things. So if none of them work, go to packages. And then you should have, I don't have this because it's not allowed on the cloud version of R that Bodin has, but I'll show you on my home R. You should go to packages, install. All right, so if one of those functions didn't work, go to packages, install, and then type it. So type tidyverse, comma, vegan, comma, R Markdown. And then hit install. Then a whole bunch of stuff is going to run in your console. When it's done running, go back to your R code and try to run the library functions again, okay? So that's how you install. Library is just how you load a package that's already installed. So luckily, the IT department has already loaded or already installed these packages for us. But if you're at home, you need to install them. Is that cool? At home people? You comfortable with this idea? All right. If something, I'm going to keep going, but if something doesn't work for you, please let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one question. Can you just go back and let me know where we find the library functions again? Because I'm trying to do that and I haven't copied and pasted them yet.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
I
they're on
kinda
the
got a
HTML
little lost.
document under step 1, install and load packages. The gray,
Okay.
these are them right here. Library tidyverse, library vegan, and library R markdown. And you're also just welcome to type them out. They're pretty short.
Okay. I just have to find that site from Blackboard, I guess. I think that was my problem.
Yeah, it's in Blackboard, assignments, RStudio, assignments, and then it's week 1. And there's just an HTML document you can find. It's actually right here.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
I tried to install tidyverse and vegan, and I'm getting error messages saying there's no package called that, but markdown worked.
Okay, did you spell it right with no capitals and no spaces?
I copy pasted it.
And it said there were no packages called that.
Yeah.
All right, who's saying that right now?
Justin,
Tim.
mine did that too. It's just because I hadn't installed it.
Yeah, okay, so you need to do install. So here's another option you can do. I will type it out in code so that it's a little bit easier. Install packages. So you need to do install.packages. Tidyverse. Something like that. So try that. Let me know if that works for you.
So when I put in the library codes, like it's not, like the results aren't exactly how they look on your, in your console.
Yep.
So like up until like loading required package per mutant lattice, this is vegan 2.0, that's the same, but beneath that, mine is different.
Yeah, but it's just warning messages. It's just telling you that it has a bunch of different code that is hidden underneath there that it's fine. Unless it says error, everything is fine.
All right.
It's just warning messages. And I've already gotten them, so it doesn't tell you twice. And somebody just pointed out, and they are totally correct, so thanks for doing that, that when you're using install.packages, you actually have to have all of your packages in quotes. So try that and let me know if that works for you. Folks who are struggling at home with installing packages.
How do we know, like I have R on my computer, how do I know that everything installed? Like, should it just stop doing all the crazy stuff in the console?
It should
Oh,
stop
it's
doing all the
going
crazy
there.
stuff in the console, and then when you want to test if it installed, so if you just installed tidyverse, then try to library tidyverse. So run, you already ran this install.packages, now run library. And if it runs without telling you there is no package called tidyverse, then it worked.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So folks playing at home, are we doing good now? Yeah? All right. If tidyverse and vegan are working, then we're okay. If R markdown isn't working even after you install R markdown, there's going to be something you have to do, and I will talk to you later about how to do that, okay? So as long as you got tidyverse and vegan, things are fine.
It may or may
Markdown's-
not be working. Oh, sorry.
Say again, which one?
I'm getting like a ton of script running in like the console area. I don't know if that's good or bad.
It is good. So tidyverse is actually not one package, it's like 30 packages. And it is more of a way of life than a package. It is like all of the best practice packages that exist in R. So when you're using tidyverse, you're using like a whole bunch of packages that work together to make R as easy and flexible and beautiful as possible. So it takes a really long time to run through and install all of the dependent packages. Just be patient with it. It'll be fine. We don't need it quite yet. These are like actually for next week. All right, let's move on beyond installing packages because we gotta. Let's figure out how to look at some data. So hopefully you're following along on my screen. We're at step 2, view data, read and write data in and out of R. You'll note that there are a bunch of links here. What I've done is I've made step-by-step instructions. So you go to this first one, R has some test data sets, let's look at one, and I'll show you how to do that inside of step 2. And then when you're done looking at the data, you can click on this to look at a new data frame inside of step 2. And then here's another one, and here's another one. So this is step by step. You do this one. Once you're done, you do this one, and then this one, and then this one. Okay? All of our tutorials are going to be like this. It's just to keep it from being 50 pages long for no reason. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just look at some data. So R, being very helpful and handy, actually already has some data built into it. So I'm making comments. So back in our script, let's look at some data. R has a data set built into it called MT-Cars, which is just a data set all about cars. So go ahead and type MT-Cars and then run it. And what you should see is what I'm seeing. There should be a column with a bunch of car names, which, yay. And then there should be a bunch of columns with a bunch of car attributes. Cool. This is just a really basic data set that we can do whatever we want with. And it's like very far from interesting, but it is a great way to learn. So we're going to use it. There are other ones, but this one's the easiest. So here we are. All right, so now you know how to look at data. We looked at the entire data set using MT-Cars. So imagine if MT-Cars was like 30,000 rows long. If we typed MT-Cars and hit run, it would show us all 30,000 rows, which if you have a low-powered computer would like break your computer. So that's bad. We don't want to do that. Instead, we just want to see what shape the data are in, right? So if we want to look at the data, we can use the head function. We can say head MT-Cars and then run that. And what that should do is it'll show us the first 6 rows and all of the column headers for MT-Cars. So it allows us to see like an idea of what the data will be like. Yeah? So that's the top 6 rows. Does anybody know what we do to see the bottom 6 rows of a data frame?
Tail?
Tail, yeah, cool. So type tail MT-Cars and see how that goes. It worked, by the way, in case you were curious. There you go, head and tail, super easy. All right, so there's a couple more functions that are really simple that I want to show you. If we want to see the attributes of every column, we're looking at these columns. Does R think this column contains numbers? Does it think it contains factors or letters or a date or a time? How do we know that? Look at column attributes. And if you've already looked at our tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to type str MT-Cars. And this will give us a function that shows us all about the attributes of our data. Nice and easy. What does str stand for? I honestly cannot remember. I used to call it string, but I know that's not right. So now it's just str. So that's looking at column attributes. You can see that it tells us, first of all, that we're dealing with something called a data frame. So MT-Cars, the data, is a data frame, which just means a bunch of columns and rows. So thankfully, R thinks about data the same way Excel does, which makes it very easy to comprehend for new coders. And we want to always think about our data in terms of columns and rows. That's just always the easiest way in R. If you've ever worked in Python, like just pretend like I don't exist and disregard everything I say. But in R, columns and rows. Okay, so we see that it's a data frame. And then we see a bunch of dollar signs, right? And then after each dollar sign is the name of a column. So if I type the name of my data frame, $MPG, which is one of the columns, I will get a nice printout of all of the information that's in that column. So when we're trying to talk about columns, we need to use data frame $ name of column. Cool? Yeah, all right. The next thing we're gonna do is take a look at some summary stats for every column. So just to get an idea of what our data frame looks like and what the differences between the columns are, we can use the summary stats, which will tell us like the min, the mean, the max, the median, the upper and lower quartile ranges, things like that for every single column, which we don't always care about every column, but just because we can. It's called summary. empty cars. So you'll see that R is usually pretty intuitive. We want to look at the summary stats, we type summary. Nice and easy. So when you run this function, what you'll see is every single column, the min, the first quartile, the median, the mean, the third quartile, and the max. Okay? So you can get an idea of the average of the data and the spread of the data. And we're going to be talking about mean and spread a lot because those are really the most important parts of data. The shape of the distribution becomes important as well, but that's more advanced. Cool. So that's how we do summary. Now, what if I only wanted to take the summary of one column? What might I do to take the summary of one column? Let's say I want to only see the summary of HP. What do I do?
Would you
Yeah,
just do some?
No, please, go ahead. Wesley.
Would you just do summary empty cars $HP?
You sure would. Summary empty cars $HP. Cool. Keep that in mind for next week when we start applying things to columns, because that matters. This is a trivial example, as people say for some reason, but it is a good one to learn. So we're going to keep it. Great. Thank you for answering. And I know a few other people had probably that same idea, which is wonderful. Okay. So the last thing we need to do before we start learning how to read and write data is how big is the data frame? Let's say we want to look at the number of columns in the data frame. We would type in call for number of columns, empty cars. And then it's going to say, oh, hey, man, there's 11. And since empty cars is really small, we can actually just count that there are actually 11 and confirm that we were right. Number of rows in a data frame, n row, super surprising, I'm sure. So now we can see we've got 11 columns and 32 rows. You can see how this might be more important when we have 11 billion columns and 32 gajillion rows, which is a thing that happens. Because if we try to run empty cars and it's that big, it's going to blow up our computer. All right, so that's all the basics about how to look at data. Just like first thing you do when you read a data frame in to R is you want to like dig around in it a little bit and see what it looks like. All right, now let's name a data frame. And this is important because this is the first step to learning how to read and write data to file. Okay, so empty cars is like in the computer where the files are. The files are in the computer. .meme. Yeah. Okay, so empty cars is built into R, but say I want to save it to my computer. I can do that. And say empty cars was not called empty cars, but it was instead called like something that was really long, like big giant data set full of cars. All of that was the name of the data frame. That's really annoying, and I would like to make a placeholder, or I would like to rename that data frame so that it's more useful or simpler to type in my code, because I'm going to have to type it 50,000 times. So we're going to name the data frame. Empty cars is now going to be called A, because it's the first data frame that we're working with. For those of you who have programmed before, you probably know it's not best practice to name your data frames A, B, C. But here we go. We're doing it. Just for today. Normally, naming a data frame that has cars in it, cars would be great. You know what? Whatever. Let's name it cars. We can do that. We're going to call empty cars cars. So you type cars, and then you make a left arrow, and then you type empty cars. And what that does is the stuff to the right of the left arrow is your original data frame, and the stuff to the left of your left arrow is the new name of that data frame. So we have now just made empty cars into a new data frame called cars. So if we type cars and run it, we're going to get the same exact data. Yeah? Super important how to rename stuff, right? We could name it whatever we wanted, preferably something short that makes sense to us, that means something. So like A doesn't mean anything, but cars does. Okay, hopefully y'all are following along still. Now we're going to save empty cars as a file.
When I renamed it cars and I wrote in cars, it just gave me the speed and distance. I don't know what happened to the rest of the information.
Oh shoot. Is cars a data set?
You have to run empty cars as cars first, and then
Yeah.
you can do it.
You have to run, so this line of code that I've highlighted, you have to run it first. So highlight it and click run or use your control enter. It's tricky because speed and distance are actually from another package where
There's
cars,
space in the arrow and empty cars.
it does not matter if there's a space. No. Thanks, Katie. That's a great point. So just really quickly, I want to show you how flexible R is. When I'm naming a data frame, I'm going to use cars1 in this case, just so I can have two different ones. You can use the left arrow or you can use equals. Now, there are reasons why you don't want to use equals, and there are reasons why you don't want to use the left arrow. But like, for your purposes, those two things are completely interchangeable. Please do not try to name your data frame a number. If you try to make your data frame, if I try to name cars or empty cars equal to 1, that would really be bad. Okay? You can see why that might be true. Say I'm doing math somewhere in my code and I name cars 1, then every time there's a 1, it's going to get replaced with cars, and that's going to break everything. So just be careful with equals, but you can use it too. Okay, now Alexia asked about the spaces. You can take the spaces out or you can keep them, and R could not care less. It is just like, whatever, dude, do whatever you want. Use spaces, don't use spaces. Use spaces on one side and don't use them on the other side. I do not care. I get it. R is really flexible and smart. If you've ever coded in something that wasn't R, you're going to do whatever you have to do to keep it the same as that because it's confusing. But you can use spaces. It helps to see things. So if you're new, my recommendation is use a space between all the things all the time. It's just easier to see stuff. It's like double spacing an essay. But if you want, no spaces is fine. Okay. Thank you for asking that question and bringing up that point about equals. That's great. And I saw somebody back. Sorry, I missed this one. Somebody asked, what does the $ specify? The $ specifies that we want to look at a particular column. That's what that means. You can use another placeholder to tell me to only look at one row, but $ is just for columns. And we don't tend to care about an individual row, so we just don't worry about that one. That's a good question. Thank you for asking. Okay, let's save empty cars to a file. The way we're going to do that, I'm going to save cars because it's shorter, is I'm going to use a function called read.csv. If you've taken another course before, maybe you used read_CSV. I genuinely do not care which one of these you use. They work almost the same way. So the options are read_CSV and read.csv. I'm teaching you read.csv because it's the one that I use all the time. Sorry, write. We're writing, we're saving. Good job, me. All right, we're writing a thing to a file, so we're gonna use write.csv. And what that asks us to do is first we have to tell the name of the data frame that we're saving. So we're saving cars, and then we have to use file equals to give it a file name that we want to name our data frame. So I'm going to call it cars.csv. You have to put it in quotes. That's really important. And you have to use .csv. That's also really important. CSV is a file format. .csv means comma separated values. And what that is a really simple spreadsheet. It basically divides your spreadsheet into columns and rows using commas. Excel, which saves as an XLS file, is the same idea, only it's tab separated. The best news here is that you can open an Excel, or you can open a CSV file in Excel and it works just fine. So save as a CSV. The reason for that is that it's smaller and not as confusing. So when you're reading a file into R from Excel, it's important that you go to File, Save As, and save it as a CSV. That just gets rid of all the Excel macros that are in the spreadsheet that can make R really hate you. You could read Excel files into R. I just wouldn't. Okay, so we write this file and go ahead and run that line. And hopefully in your folder, your working directory, you'll see cars.csv. Everybody see that? Yeah, cool. So if you click on it, and go to View File, it's going to pop up in your R, and it'll show you what it looks like. So you can see what a comma-separated values file looks like. It's just a bunch of rows and columns, just like our other data set. All right, somebody in the chat has asked, does it matter if we use single or double quotation marks? No. You can use double, or you can use single, but you can't use one double and one single. Just be consistent. Best practice in R is to use double all the time. I'm not going to get into why, but sometimes when you use singles, you have a bad time. But single's so much easier, you don't have to use shift. So like, it's fine to do either. And if you have a problem, just ask me and I'll help you fix it. But great question. Okay, now we want to read data from a file into R. We're doing great. We're actually almost done. So we're doing, which is good because we're done, into R. The way we do that is with the function read.csv. So importantly here, we need to name our read.csv before we read it in, or else it's just going to read in data and not put it anywhere. So let's call it cars1. So cars1 equals or left arrow read.csv. I'm going to use the read dot, not read underscore. And then we just, in quotation marks, tell it what file to dig out. And then it can, and then we can see that we have cars1, and it's the same exact data. So we wrote a file to our computer, and now we're reading a file back out of our computer. So when you have data that you're messing with in your computer and you want to read it into R, this is how you do it. Yes, Andrew.
In what instance would you want to, oh, I see. So I'm wondering, rather than, because it sounds like you can kind of either rename a data set and then run it to also see what's in kind of that data set. But I think this is just another way to visualize the data without having to like rename it. And like, when will we be using read.csv rather than just typing the data set and running it?
Great question. Great question. Yes, that is a good question. So we did not read a file in to start this tutorial because there was data built into R that we could use. But let's say we wanted to look at the data you collected from your Ecology at Home project, or the tide pool project we're going to do later in the semester, which is why we're learning R. That file is going to be saved on your personal computer. You're then going to upload it into R and mess with it. So we need the read.csv function to read that file from your computer into R so that we can manipulate it. So you're going to use read.csv like at the beginning of everything you do every time you open R, basically. Does that help clear things up? Cool, cool, cool. That's a great question. Yeah, I recognize that wasn't abundantly clear because I took data that was already here. And yeah, normally when we're using R, we're taking data that we have and putting it into R. And that's what read.csv is for. And like, that's what the whole point of today was for, was so that you knew enough to be dangerous enough to read your own data into R. Because that's like the beginning of everything. All right, cool, cool, cool. Great question. So now we can read and write files. So we're doing great. You can use read.csv or read_csv if that's already your jam. I'm not going to take that away from you. To read files from basically anywhere, as long as you can get a path to that file. That means that if you have access to the internet and somebody puts a CSV file somewhere on the internet, you can use read.csv to grab it and read it into R. So an example of that is this hospital data set, which I think unfortunately has moved, but I'm going to try to read it in. So from our tutorial, read in a data set from the interwebs. We're going to try to read in this hospital data set, and it worked. So I found this on the internet. Somebody had given me this path to it from this website. So you can see that the path is just a website, a web link. And then I read it in, and now you can see I've got like a whole bunch of admittance records for why people were in the hospital and what they were in the hospital for. So that's a new data set that I can play with. A treasure trove of such data sets, because I'm going to ask you to go find them and use them for stuff, is the Tidy Tuesday GitHub. So how you get to that is you open up a new web browser and you type in Tidy Tuesday GitHub. GitHub is a code sharing platform, and here's the data that exists for Tidy Tuesday. So we're inside of their GitHub where they hide all of their code. We can go to data, and then we can scroll around and find the data set that we like the best. Personally, I'm a big fan of penguins. So they had a data set about penguins. So I can just click on it. Boom, Palmer penguins. There's a bunch of cute penguins. Everything's great. And I find the CSV, and it even actually just tells me, here's the CSV file. I just copy it. And then I can just make a new read CSV, and I'm going to call it pangs, short for penguins, pangs. And it's read.csv. Boom. And then if I type pangs, then now I've got a data frame all about penguins, which is just like a dream come true for all of us. So whenever you're looking for a data set to play with, Tidy Tuesday is the place to go. Every single Tuesday of every week of every year, starting in 2018, they have uploaded a new data set. Last week's data set was a whole bunch of data from the TV show Chopped. There have been 41 seasons of Chopped. All of the data are on the Tidy Tuesday page. You can go grab it and you can mess with it, learn how to use R, and also learn what the random bags of food are in Chopped. So, you can search around on Tidy Tuesday for anything that like is interesting to you. There's one that's all about cats. There's one that's all about dogs. There's a bunch that are all about different sports. All sorts of nerdy things. How many like stoplights are in certain towns? People just take data and put it in there. So that's where I would go to try to find links to read data into R. When in doubt, copy and paste that penguins link because it works every time. Cool. All right, we have one last thing we need to learn, and that is how to use R Markdown. And as we start running out of time and people need to step out, feel free to step out at any time. If you need to come to office hours on Tuesday and learn more about this, like by all means. And if you can't do that, set up another appointment with me and we can chat. All right, so in order to turn in your homework, I want you to use an R Markdown file. And the reason for that is because R Markdown makes these beautiful little printouts where you can see the code that somebody ran and what happened when they ran that code. That way you don't have to send me a screenshot of everything that happened when you ran every line of code and every line of code in a script. You can just send me an R Markdown file. So I'm going to teach you how that works really quickly. If you haven't already, go ahead and go to File, New File, R Markdown. And that should work for you. If you are playing along at home and this isn't working for you, just like watch me and then let's chat at the end and I'll get you set up. All right, so hopefully you have a file that looks like this for your R Markdown file called Untitled 1 or Untitled 2. And it is the code that we're going to use to build our homework assignments. So there should be 3 little dots or 3 little dashes, and then title, author, date, output. Just like make those whatever you want. And then there's 3 more dashes. Go below those 3 dashes, highlight everything that's down there, and delete all of it. That's it. And then turn it in, that's your homework. No, not really. This is just how you get set up. R Markdown just spits out a bunch of random nonsense. We just don't want it. Okay. So R Markdown is different than an R script in that I can just type stuff. If I type stuff without a hashtag, everything is fine. Okay? This document that I'm working from is just a piece of paper, essentially. It's just a Word document for the most part. If I want to put, you can only see title and output. That's chill, man. Don't even worry. I don't know why mine shows author and date, probably because I have a package. It doesn't matter. If you really want to add that stuff, you can. You just type author : and then you put your name in quotes. No big deal. Okay, so like I said, an R Markdown document is just a Word document for all intents and purposes until we make it into a place where we can code. So in order to insert code, we must add a code chunk. We do that with, and if you're following the instructions, you use Control-Alt-I or Command-Alt-I. Control plus Alt plus I, and that inserts a code chunk. So that's Control insert, basically. Control-Alt-I, and it should insert a gray bar. That should be like apostrophe, 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 bracket R, bracket, space in the middle, and then apostrophe, 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 just like my screen. Does everybody have one of those when they use Control or Command-Alt-I? If you do, then you have R Markdown. If you don't, then you don't have R Markdown probably, or it's not working. If you need to change the way that you do this, you can also, instead of doing Control-Alt-I, you can go to this Insert button right here in the top right and just tap it and then select R. Those both work. If you cannot see that button, R Markdown's not working. One of those should work for you. Whichever one works, awesome. If one of them doesn't matter. All right, so inside of those gray bars, that's an R script, which means to comment here, I need a hashtag. Otherwise, I'm writing code. Okay? Now, if you want to run everything that's inside of one of those gray bars, you go over to the right of it, and you'll see this little green run current chunk play button. Press play, and it'll run. And then it'll show you what it did when it ran, right? So if I do empty cars, head empty cars, in row empty cars, it's going to spit out everything I just did. So I'll hit run. And then now you can see there's the data frame from empty cars. Here's the data frame from head. And then here's the answer for n rows. So when you make your document to show me, it's going to paste all that stuff down there for you. And you don't have to like copy and paste it or screenshot it. It's just going to make your life way easier. All right. That is literally all you do. That's it. It's like slightly different than making an R script. If you want to make it look pretty, here's how you can do that. If you use two hashtags, a single hashtag, it makes a big header. So you do hashtag space. This is my header. And if you do hashtag hashtag space, this is my subheader. Then it'll make a header and a subheader when you make the document. If you want to make italics, you do star and then a word in italics star. If you want to do bold, then you do star star, a word in bold star, double star. Okay, that's it. So it's basic HTML plus a little bit of R. Yeah, so you're probably too young to have had MySpace, but if you had MySpace, this is basically just MySpace. You're probably like, the hell is MySpace? This guy's old. That's fine. Okay, in order to see what this looks like as a web page or a PDF or a Word document, you find the ball of yarn and the word knit, because the people who write R are big giant nerds. You click on the arrow key and you pick PDF, HTML, or Word. I really would rather that you do an HTML or a PDF because the Word documents are really kind of ugly, but the power is yours. So I'm going to knit to PDF, and I'm going to save it as Friday. And then I'm going to hit save, and it is going to make me a pretty PDF for me to click on. There's a good chance that if you try to make a PDF, it's going to crash. If that happens, just make an HTML. You need a plugin, but don't worry about it, man. Just make an HTML. So you can see here's my PDF version. It's got my title and my name. And then there's my big header, my subheader. Here's italics, here's bold. And then here's the code I wrote and the output of all the things I did. Nice and easy like. And if I wanted to make it an HTML, I just go knit to HTML. And it makes me a nice little website, and it pops up and it saves it. You can just drag and drop that HTML save folder or save file into Blackboard and send it to me. And then I can click it, open it, see what you did, give you all your points, and you can go on your merry way. That is it. That is how you use RStudio in a nutshell, and how you use R Markdown. Don't forget to save and things like that. Yes, Andrew.
Sorry, one last question. You see, I really like how you have like they're like you have the data frame and then another data frame and then our console, like you can all see it right there. How do you visualize that within RStudio? You see what I'm saying? Like right below the code.
Yeah. When you type the same thing that I typed, it doesn't look like that?
No, I only have, when I type in empty cars and run that, I get the data set, but it doesn't.
It doesn't
Maybe
do
I
this.
need to write. No, here, let me try one more time and I'll get back to you.
Okay. When you save the PDF, it should go to your working directory. If it doesn't, then there was an error saving the PDF. And there's a reason for that. And that reason is that it requires a weird plugin that it sometimes doesn't always install. So just save it as an HTML or a Word document, and those are both just going to work. PDFs are the prettiest, but like also they're the most functionally difficult. Somebody else said Alt equals Option on Mac. Yes, Control Option I. Sorry, Command Option I. We just can't have nice things in this world. Nothing is ever easy. That is a great point, though. Thank you for pointing that out. Henry, who's gone. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If anybody wants to troubleshoot, you're welcome to stick on here. I'll stay on for a couple minutes and help people troubleshoot. But before that, I just want to show you what your homework is. You're probably a little bit overwhelmed right now, but your homework is really, really simple. All I want you to do is make an R Markdown file. Spoiler alert, you already have. Name it your name _ week 1. Copy and paste these tasks into it as like questions that you can answer, and then just step-by-step run through them and do them. So insert a code chunk underneath each one, do the thing, and then that's it. So you have to write the code necessary to complete each task. So you're going to load the iris dataset from the vegan package, which means you just type the words iris after you library vegan. So you're going to want to do one of these guys. Make a new code chunk, library vegan, and then you just type iris and you run that, and there, boom, is the iris dataset. Okay. I'm going to stop doing your homework for you now. That's how you do step 1. Step 2 is I want you to find another data set from the Tidy Tuesday page and read it in. Save it and turn in your code or your R Markdown on Blackboard. That is it. Just read some data and show me that you know how to do that. Don't forget to name your data. That's it. That's due next Friday at midnight. Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for staying around. Thanks for hanging out. If anybody wants to troubleshoot some issues that they're having, you are welcome to stay. I'm happy to stay for a little bit. Otherwise, I'll see you all either next Tuesday, next Thursday, next Friday, or whenever you schedule a meeting with me. Go have an awesome weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
So when I try to knit it as an HTML, it tells me that execution was halted, or yeah, it's execution halted, and I just get like a their angry red error message.
Does it say anything about why the execution was halted?
I see you init failed, U-axis error in INDL, X as logical. I'm not sure what this means.
I'm not either. Can you copy and paste the error message and put it in the chat?
No, I'm doing
You're on a
R
different.
on this computer. Yeah.
That's okay. Tell me what it is
So-
again, or just like read me a piece of it.
So error in IN capital D capital L parentheses X comma
Okay.
AS dot, yeah.
That should be enough.
Okay.
File access, ICU init failed, U file access error.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you do me a favor and type the thing I'm going to put in chat?
Mm-hmm.
Session info. I think I've figured it out. This is on you're running RStudio on your computer, not on the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, so run session info like that and tell me what it says.
Error in session info, could not find function session info.
Stop it. Stop it. Did you use the capital I?
Oh, no.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say that's gonna be a hard one to fix.
That would just be my R is broken. If that's
Justin.
okay, here we go. Yeah, I got a bunch of data.
It could be that I'm here.
It could be. Beth has a way with computers, a bad way.
Could be my fault. Yeah, Sam knows this about me already.
So, Sam, does it tell you what version of R you're running?
Okay, it gave me a lot of data. Just like version 3.5.2.
That's why. Okay, so
do I have an old version?
If you could do me a favor and update your R, that would be super prime. You have to have at least R 4.0, or else R Markdown is just going to tell you I don't want to play every time.
Okay, cool. So is that just a file and then?
I had same problem.
Yeah. So what you actually have to do is just Google download RStudio.
Okay, gotcha.
And then download the newest version of RStudio from their website, and it'll just overwrite your old one. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay.
Yeah.
That should work. I mean,
it didn't overwrite it.
It didn't overwrite it.
Okay.
It should. It should. Sometimes it doesn't. If that's the case, you can uninstall your old instance of R and then reinstall with a new one, and that'll fix the problem.
Right.
You will lose all of your installed packages, so you'll have to install .packages all the packages you want to run. This is all no big deal.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's all. The instructions are all in the online stuff. So.
Yeah, and I'm super happy to just sit with you until it works if you have a problem.
Cool. I'll try that out.
Awesome. All right, so other folks have questions. I saw Kyra has been in here from the get-go. Do you want to go first, Kyra? It could be Kira. I feel like I don't know. All right, she's on mute, so maybe she just walked away. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. I noticed that in the beginning of the class just now, you mentioned something about research, or maybe an email you sent out to us about your research and stuff like that. Can you just talk about that real quick? I'm not sure if I got the email, but I could go back and look.
Yeah, so I sent that email to the bio majors, the bio minors, EOS majors, and EOS minors listservs. And basically what I'm doing is I'm soliciting interest in trying to get people together just to like chat about marine science research, and particularly maybe read some papers within coral reefs. Normally I would have a research lab and like we'd be doing stuff, but like I'm new, I don't have a lab, I don't have any money, and nobody's on campus. So I figured instead maybe we could just like read papers and talk about the field and do a little bit professional development, talk about how to get into grad school or like how to get a job or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. We're probably going to meet either on Wednesdays or Mondays. And it's just going to be like a journal club and a Q&A kind of like professional development opportunity for folks to learn.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I'm a sophomore, so I haven't actually declared my major yet, but I am going to be a biology major, and hopefully in the concentration ecology, evolution, marine science.
Cool. Yeah, if you want to jump in, just send me an email and I can add you to the list.
Sure.
And
yeah,
even you're on campus.
I am on campus. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in.
So you guys could actually see each other face to face. I met even yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my lab.
I would love to see who is actually here, and maybe we could like sit outside and talk about corals sometime.
Yeah.
Or just talk about whatever. That'd be fun. So yeah, that's what that's all about. If you want to get involved, just send me an email and I'll get you connected to that.
Great. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
Looks like Jasmine is gone, but she dropped back in. I guess maybe she didn't have a question.
Justin, just about that. Yeah, I was just gonna say we don't declare majors until sophomore spring. So I think there would probably be a lot of freshmen and sophomores interested in doing the choral thing. So I would even send it out to like Dave Carlin's class or like other kind of like bio EOS sort of related classes where or even maybe like bio 101 classes, just because there's going to be a lot of people who I think would be interested. And I'm going to be starting up naturalist club stuff. We've got a meeting about it today to start. Like I had a meeting with Beth about it today earlier, actually, about just like getting going on that. So I can also forward that to our list once that kind of gets going, because I can imagine that would be interesting for some people too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hear from folks, especially in the naturalist club.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be doing more like, I guess I'm aiming for people who are already declared majors, because we're going to be talking a little bit more about specifically like the field and grad schools and like options for futures. I kind of want to keep it more toward folks that are closer to the end of their degree.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And because I already have like 20 people, so I don't want to have 50
Oh,
people.
wow. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Okay, so honestly, yeah, never mind. Like
they won't all come.
Set.
Yeah, we have a nice group.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It'll be cool. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Do you happen to remember the name Anna Dulski from UNC? Or so my friend Anna is starting grad school right now in the same lab at UNC that you did your postdoc in. Yeah. So I just thought that was funny. I'm like really close with her. I was teaching marine bio last summer with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Germany, I feel like, for like a Fulbright for a music performance or something.
Yeah, it's like a Fulbright-esque kind of State Department thing.
Yeah.
She did have to come home, but
yeah, I mean she's actually in North Carolina now.
Yeah.
I hope she's doing well. I don't know how it'll be with all the COVID cases and being on and off campus at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she'll thrive anyway.
Yeah, hopefully. She seems like she is very self-sufficient, which is going to be necessary in that lab.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say hi and hello again, Beth. Yeah. This was
Let
great.
me know what I can do. Yes. Glad you could come today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be here most Fridays. So,
awesome.
And I think if I can't make it to a Friday, I'll try to do a Tuesday night because I don't think I have anything then. So I'll try to be here every week. So.
Awesome. Sounds good. And I'm sure the students will start asking for help as early as next week.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of familiar faces in the crowd today, so it's pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. So if our assignment is due next Friday, I'm imagining TA hours can start up Thursday.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Hannah at all about her schedule, but that works for me. So
yeah.
Figure out timing.
Yeah, maybe you guys can offer 2 different times or something like that. That might be the best way to do it to cover everybody.
Yeah.
I put it in your capable hands.
Sounds good. I will reach out to her about that then.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
And let me know if you need any help.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Katie. I thought Kira was here. Hello, Kira.
I think she may have just wandered off and not come back.
I'm almost there, I think.
Okay. What do you got?
Good.
Stuff's downloading.
Cool. Yeah, it might take a while, but it should just kind of work for you.
And how do I check what version I have? Oh yeah, I'll have to do that again.
Yeah, you run session info again. And it should say 4.0 point something, probably. I don't know what the newest version of R is.
Where is that again? And I'll check mine because I tried to download the latest one. But I think because my Firefox is old, maybe, I don't know. Maybe my operating system's old.
You should be able to
Where
type
do I go?
this to figure out. So if you type session info, which I just sent you in the chat, you can just copy and paste that. If you run that, it'll tell you what info you have. And to download a new version of RStudio. So you don't need a new version of R. You just need a new version
I did yesterday or day before.
RStudio.
It told me I needed a new version of R before I could get the latest version of RStudio.
Okay. Okay.
So I
That is
did.
possible.
Session info. Okay. Let me just see what I got. Because I think I didn't get Markdown. Capitalize info.
Yeah, capitalize info.
And what am I looking for? There's a lot of stuff that came up, right?
Yeah. So you're looking just for the R version. It should say version 3 point something point something.
3.5.0.
Yeah, so you want to get version 4.0 point something, and there's a way you can do that that is easier. You can actually just, if you copy and paste the stuff I'm sending you in the chat, and I'll just send this to everyone actually, because it might be easier for Sam as well. You can just copy and paste install R, and then library install R, and then you type update R, and it'll just do it, and you don't even have to do any installing. It'll do it for you. You just type all that stuff. It seems like Sam's probably already past that point, but if you just copy and paste, it'll just run.
I just did session info after downloading online, and it gave me 3.5.2 again.
Interesting. All right,
Yes.
let me see what that's all about.
Why don't you just post and install packages?
Yeah, try that.
Okay.
So you can just copy and paste those 3 lines and just run them all, and it should just do it, and it should give you the newest version of R. And you have to quit and reopen R in order for it to load the newest version.
Gotcha.
So that might be your problem. You might just want to exit yours and reopen it. I should mention that install R also only works on Windows, which I think is what Beth is running. I don't know if that's what
I
you're.
got.
Okay, cool.
It's not working.
Not working?
No.
What does it say?
Well,
That first step probably takes a little while.
I'll try. It says install R package install successfully unpacked and MD5 sums checked. And I tried library install R, and then it gave me an error with that.
Okay, I'm gonna install it right now because I haven't installed it on my new computer.
Okay.
And let's see if I can figure out what's going on. Okay, so after it says MD5 sums checked, it should say the downloaded binary packages are available in. Do you see that?
Yeah, see users. Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then you should be able to library it, and it will give you a warning message, but it'll still work.
And then I need to do what again?
So then you should just be able to type update R, the last line that I sent you, and it should just update R. And then you need to completely close R and open it again, and then do session info.
Now, how do I completely close it? Because I thought I had and rebooted, but
So you go to the X in the top corner.
Yeah.
And just click don't save on everything.
Don't save. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry to have these. It says
my problem.
What's up, Sam?
When I did update R, it told me error in update R could not find. Maybe I just typed it wrong because I do that a lot. Update capital R parentheses. It's telling me I can't find update R. Is that just because my version's old, or should I?
That's interesting that it says that.
Update capital R, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you should just be able to type update capital R, open quote, close quote, and then run it.
Yep. I'll try it.
And if that's not working, then you'll have to do it the old-fashioned way.
All right, I might have to do that then because it told me I couldn't find update R. I
Okay.
definitely did spell it right.
So let me see if I can find a link to the newest version of R, because the most commonly used how to like download the new version of R sends you to 3.5.2.
Yeah, that's probably what I got.
That's what I just did. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, because I tried. So Sam, what you don't know is I tried to do this on Tuesday, and I got the same thing, and then I got the new version of R, which is 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a 4.
Oh,
So
here we go.
if you go to
Yeah.
this link I just sent you, you should be able to click download R 4.0.2 for Windows. Just click on that and it'll do the thing.
Gotcha. I just looked it up just in case. Let's do that.
Yeah. And you shouldn't have to update RStudio, and if you do, it should do it for you.
Sorry about all this trouble. I should have done this before.
For your
but-
help.
It is all good. This is like one of those weird things that is hard to explain unless we're all doing it together. So don't worry about it. That's what I'm here for.
Well, thank you.
Sam, I did do it. Okay, and now it should just overwrite the old one you're telling me?
All right. By the way, is this the right looking website? Something like that?
That is exactly right. Yeah. It should
Awesome.
just
Cool.
It should just look like that.
right.
You, Beth, don't have to do anything with your old version of R. If it asks you if you want to write over it, just say yes. But you don't have to do anything with it.
Okay. Okay. And it's going to take it a little while, I think, right?
It might. Yeah, it might. It depends on that. Yeah. At your house, probably. Yeah.
Sorry, someone just delivered a package.
All good.
Sam lives about half an hour north of me in an equally rural and beautiful location.
And we got an Airbnb up here for a couple months, which is fun.
That's great.
Oh wait, where in Ohio are you from?
So I was born in Columbus, and then I grew up in Cincinnati, and then I moved back to Columbus for school. So both of
Yeah.
those places is home.
Cool. I'm from Frankenmuth, Michigan. I don't know if.
Yeah, I saw that on your intro on Flipgrid, and I was like, oh, I can also tell that you're from Michigan. You sound like you're from Michigan.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of fun because like if a lot of people from like that general the Great Lakes area have oddly enough heard of the town, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, well,
I've
I have
family
up there. Family in Flint, and then one of my cousins went to Michigan Tech, so I'm familiar with that area.
My dad's from Flint. Okay, here we go. This is the right version now.
Okay, cool. Beth, our iPads are here.
I saw that.
Exciting.
I'll have to come.
Sorry, you go. You go, Beth. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just down. I'm trying to read the or the messages that are coming my way. So our iPads are here. I'll come to campus next week and pick it up.
Yeah, it looks like we can come Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and after that, I guess we're not allowed to get them anymore.
I'm actually the camera on my laptop is horrible, so I've been calling from the iPad, and it works really well.
Oh, you got your iPad. Good.
Yeah.
Some people didn't. Like 500 students still don't have them.
Yeah, for the two people living with me, one does not have it yet, so might be a minute. Okay, we're almost there.
I did not get all these questions earlier when I got the new version of R. Ooh, create a desktop shortcut. I tried to do my homework, Justin, before lab today.
So it's totally okay.
I'm the problem student, Sam, with you, right? Technologically challenged.
All right, might be there.
Oh, this is looking good. Justin, I don't know, you're still recording too. I don't know if you want to, but
I really don't.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you did something
Okay.
different this time, but